morning. So Grace goes to school. She sees this guy who's in her class and realizes it's Daniel, who she hasn't seen in 3 years. Goes home and is trying to figure out if she should tell her family whether or not she saw him, because they don't ever talk about Daniel. And so she finally announces that she saw Daniel at school, and her brother gets up and leaves dinner and walks out of the house. And so now she's upset because she's upset her brother, and her brother's kind of the kind of guy that everybody really loves. And so yeah, so this is it. I found Jude sitting on the front porch, wrapped in the blue Afghan from the couch. His breath made white puffs in front of his face. "It's freezing, Jude. Come inside. I'm fine." I knew he wasn't. Few things ever upset Jude. He didn't like it. He didn't like the way some girls at school would say cruel stuff and then try to pass it off as just kidding. He hated it when people used the Lord's name in vain, and he absolutely could not tolerate anyone who claimed the Wild would never win the Stanley Cup. But Jude didn't scream or yell when he was mad. He got real quiet and folded into himself. I rubbed my arms for warmth and sat next to him on the steps. "I'm sorry I spoke to Daniel. I didn't mean to make you mad." Jude massaged the parallel scars that scraped across the back of his left hand. It was something he did a lot. I wondered if he was even conscious of it. "I'm not mad," he finally said. "I'm worried." "About Daniel?" "About you." Jude looked into my eyes. We had the same Roman nose and dark brown hair, but it was the resemblance in our violet eyes that always felt a bit eerie, especially now when I saw how much pain was reflected in his gaze. I know the way you feel about him." Felt. It was more than 3 years ago. I was just a kid then. You're still a child. I wanted to say something snide like, "So are you," because he was barely a year older than me. But I knew he wasn't trying to be mean when he said it. I just wished Jude would realize that I was nearly 17. I'd been dating and driving for almost a year. Cold air seeped in through my thin cotton sweater, and I was about to go inside when Jude took my hand in his. "Grace, will you promise me something?" Sorry. "Gracie, will you promise me something?" "What?" "If you see Daniel again, promise me you won't talk to him." "But..." "Listen to me," he said. "Daniel is dangerous. He isn't the person he used to be. You have to promise to stay away from him." I twisted my fingers in the yarn of the blanket. "Serious, Grace. You have to promise." "Okay, fine, I will." Jude squeezed my hand and looked off into the distance. It seemed like he was staring a million miles away, but I knew his gaze rested on the weathered walnut tree, the one I'd been trying to draw in art class, that separated our yard from the neighbors. I wondered if he was thinking about that night, 3 years ago, when he last saw Daniel, the last time any of us saw him. "What happened?" I whispered. It had been a long time since I'd had the nerve to ask that question. My family acted like it was nothing, but nothing wasn't bad enough to explain why Charity and I were sent away to our grandparents for 3 weeks. Families don't stop talking about something that was nothing. Nothing didn't explain the thin white scar, like the ones on his hand above my brother's left eye. "You're not supposed to say bad things about the dead," Jude mumbled. I shook my head. "Daniel isn't dead." "He is to me." Jude's face was blank. I'd never heard him talk like that before. I sucked in a breath of frigid air and stared at him, wishing I could read the thoughts behind his stony eyes. "You know you can tell me anything." "No, Gracie, I really can't." His words stung. I pulled my hand out of his grasp. I didn't know how else to respond. Jude stood up. "Leave it alone," he said, softly as he draped the Afghan around my shoulders. He went up the steps, and I heard the screen door click shut. The television's blue light flickered through the front room window.